Hello, welcome to the Mum Boss Method podcast. I'm Chrissy and I've got a guest joining me today. I'm really excited about this conversation. Before I introduce her, though, I need to warn you. I've got two dogs in the house. We all know that Henry is an anxious monkey who also gets very jealous of anyone taking up my time or attention. So if they bark and I don't manage to edit that bit out, I'm really sorry. Um, anyway, my guest today has written three books. We met at a networking online event, and I knew that I needed to have her on the podcast. So I'm going to introduce you to Kat Lord. Kat, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me. Yes, I'm Catherine Lord or Cat Lord because the children prefer to call me Cat. I help families organise dreams and routines with children in mind to help them become more independent, but also to make your life easier. I am the award-winning author of the More To series. So before I became a nanny, I was a teacher. I've got a master's in education, and I was enabling the environment in the classroom and in nurseries. But when I moved to the playground, taking children to school, other parents and other nannies would say, what books do you use for this? And what activities do you do for that? So I wrote There's More to Books Than Reading, How to Help Your Child Bring Stories to Life. And that really catapulted me in the world of nannying. And I ended up winning an exemplary work in the nanny industry in New York. But after that, I started organizing the houses because I wasn't an organized person. I had interiors therapy by a lady called Suzanne Roynan, and she was just amazing. So, coupled with what I knew about enabling environments, and then what she had taught me, I started applying it to my nanny homes as well as my own home. And I saw that the children started thriving, but um, everything got easier for the parents and for me, which obviously was why I was doing it. And I joked to the mum at the time saying I was going to give up nannying and become a professional organizer. And a year later, I did. So I wrote There's More to Organising, How to Help Your Child Become More Independent and Make Your Life Easier. And the rest is history because there's only one chapter of the kitchen in that book. And there's so many parents asking me about food and meal times. I ended up writing another book called More to Meal Times, How to Learn Almost Everything Through Food and Make Mealtimes Easier about a year later.
Love it. I love it. And we are in this conversation, we're, it's really important, I think, because most of the women that listen to this and that I work with have children now. They're varied ages. I've got some with very small children, like literally born last November. And then I've got some who have adult children of our ages and they've got grandchildren. But I think the principles and the conversation that we're going to have today apply so across the whole board because the organization starts with us, doesn't it? Be that the whole thought process starts with us. So I'm really excited for this conversation. So I'm going to dive in. I know because I feel it. Um, that a lot of women are drowning in life admin, in clutter. Like either side of my camera here, I've got notebooks and things and, you know, kids stuff. I walk into Charlie's bedroom and I'm like, ah. We've got work, and we're either telling ourselves or we're being told, I need to get organized. And I actually believe that that's just BS. Why is it not as simple as just get organized?
It's not that simple because if it was that simple, we'd all be really organized and everything would be rosy, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But with many of my clients, and I think you've just mentioned with your clients, they've got multiple children, they're different ages. A lot of my clients, neurodiversity brings another level to think about. And they're also holding successful, driven careers as women as well. Also, on top of that, the older the children get, the routines need to change. And then what you need as a family grows and changes. So unfortunately,
Mm.
it's an ongoing thing. So if you could just do it once and then it would be done, that would be great. But unfortunately, it's more like a marathon than a sprint.
Yeah, that's one thing that I really it really hit home to me last night for a completely different reason. My son is 15 and he went to he told me it was a gathering, mum, not a party last night. And, you know, then kind of called us at 9 and said, "Oh, can I stay at my friend's house?" And that brought up all sorts for me. Um, and I just thought, because I knew we were having this conversation, I just thought it's so funny, isn't it? Because when they're little, you are so responsible for getting them out of the door with everything they need, plus yourself, plus everything you need, and everyone is fully dressed and everyone's got knickers and socks on. But then when they get to 15, I'm not going to make sure he's got his knickers and socks on, but there is still so much mental organization, I think, that I have to be aware of. It comes to the school holidays. I don't have to keep him occupied every day. I mean, he doesn't get out of bed till 1. I don't have to keep him occupied every day like I did when he was 3, 4, 5, but I do still need to know what's going on and be aware. Well, I can't just be out all day because I don't want him here on his own all day.
Mm.
And so it it does change, and I don't think you ever prepare yourself for that.
I don't think you can prepare yourself as well. You can. You can read books and you can talk to other people. But as a mother or as a parent, you've never had your child in the next stage of his life.
No.
So what I believe is open communication and fostering
Yeah.
understanding and knowing your child really well. So then that they can feel comfortable to A, ask you to sleep over, but B, make sure that they know what to do if they need your help.
Yeah.
Um, and know what to
Yeah.
do to get out of any situation that they need to.
Yeah. Something I say to all of my friends and to my clients who have multiple children as well is you are a first time mother to every single one of those children
Mm,
because your children are different.
yeah. And
And
you end up being a different mother to each of those children
yeah, yeah,
because you're different in the stage of life when they're in the same age as the other one.
yeah, exactly. Great. Okay. So before we get into the practical stuff, what are women actually getting? I'm going to say this in speech marks because I know not all of you watch, some of you listen, but what are women getting wrong about organization, meal times, engaging with the kids, reading, stuff like that? And ladies, I'm not saying you are wrong, but I just mean how could we help ourselves better?
Mm. Interestingly, and it's not your fault, and it wasn't their fault as parents. I am a millennial, so I'm going to come from that point of view, and it's not my parents' fault that I've ended up this way. But a lot of what we were told at the table, we bring to our table, and we are a generation of people who perhaps have a difficult relationship with food. We've been brought up in the diet culture. We have been brought up with magazines airbrushing, and we've got
Mm.
unhealthy ideals, or we had unhealthy ideals, and it is changing, and that is great. But we sometimes bring things to the table which mean that our children have an unbalanced view of food. For example, labeling food good or bad.
Yeah.
Um, Food is food. Food is fuel. It's just some is more nutritious than others. But also things that were actually said at my dinner table where you can't leave the table until you finished eating. Or there are starving children in Africa. That's obviously
Yeah.
not helpful either. But there's other phrases like uncles saying things about children or grandmas saying things about their bodies. And they probably don't mean it, but it can hit.
Mm.
And also talking about your own body negatively in front of children, saying that you want a skinny body or you want to lose 5 pounds isn't just not helpful. So just decluttering your language and checking yourself before you say it, even if you feel it, and maybe helping the children to say what they love about their bodies, like my legs are so strong, I ran to school this morning, or
Yeah.
uh, it's so great that I really enjoy to eat four bits of watermelon. I don't
Yeah.
know. An actual thing. I've got a child that's obsessed with watermelon. Um, so yeah, but in terms of organizing or your routines, um, we also bring routines from our families and bring them into our homes. And that's fine if it still serves you, but if it doesn't, then maybe rethink about it. There's a brilliant anecdote about it's food again, but there was a woman who got married and she would cut the sides off the beef joint and then put it in the oven. And her husband was like, "Why do you do that?" She's like, "I don't know. I was just taught to do that. I was like, that's what my mum did. That's what my grandma did." And it turned out that they had a slim oven. So they had to cut the sides off the beef to fit it in their tiny oven. And obviously now they have a normal oven. So it just no longer serves you. And that's just a silly anecdote. But common sense isn't actually common. And
No.
I've been in so many families where they do things absolutely differently. And I'm not saying it's wrong, and I'm not saying my way is right. But if you can talk to each other about why you do something, like especially in a marriage dynamic or a couple's dynamic, you will bring different ways to do things. And it's like I said, it's not that one's right or other, but if you can find one that works for both of you at the same time in your new dynamic, then that is probably the way forward.
Mm. I actually really love this concept of decluttering our language. And I'm so big on that. We don't call food good or bad. I don't like my clients to say that they've been bad. I don't like them to, I don't even believe in willpower. Like, I completely believe that we have free choice. And you can, don't say, I have no willpower, I can't stop snacking. You actually can. You need to choose to do it. And I'm really going through this process myself of trying to really, I wouldn't say it's declutter, but now you've said it, I'm thinking, oh, that's nice. I need to like weave that in, but really slow my life down and really go slow to go fast and stop multitasking, because I think multitasking is, or I've probably grown up thinking multitasking is like a bit of a superpower and it means that you get more done and it means you're more organized. No, it slows me down. It makes my brain fog worse. It's pointless.
Mhm.
So I love this declutter concept for
Yeah,
everything.
you could declutter your to-do list as well.
Yeah,
Just get rid of the things that don't serve you anymore.
yeah, exactly. And I think that leads into kind of my next point, which was that I think organization is less about systems and more about identity, because I spent 23 years in 23, yes, 23 years in corporate before I became a coach. And I can't tell you how many time management courses I went on. And each of those different time management courses, you walked away with a system. And um, it, you know, for me, I feel like I often do this. I'm like, I just need to organize this office a bit better. I just need to sort this out a little bit. And I actually think it is so much more about finding something that works for you and then makes practical sense in your environment. That's
Absolutely.
yeah. And I so I don't use any of those. Well, I didn't use any of those systems. I'd go on those courses in corporate and 2 days later I'd stop doing them. Yeah, so do you agree that it's about your identity?
I'm not sure it's identity. It might be personality, which I suppose could be the same thing. For example, I had one client as a nanny, not as an organizer, and everywhere the children went, they had to be in little blue shorts and little white shirts. And she would ask me to bake these perfect cupcakes, and the children weren't allowed to help me bake them. I had to bake them myself. So then they looked beautiful. And then she would passed them off as though she'd made them and as though she'd got the children dressed and as though she'd done everything. Because she wanted to be perceived a certain way, and fine, that's fine. So I think for her, her identity was this put together, organized person. she wasn't doing it, but that's by the by. Actually, a lot of the parents came to me and was like, I knew you made the cookies, and I was like, yeah, it's okay. But saying that, a bespoke system can work for you, and I think that's what you've just said. Like trying to replicate something that someone else has done, even in your business, like trying to market your business the way someone else has, might not work for you. You've got to find your own way. So organizing also has to be finding your own way. For example, I really love these drawers. If you're watching, I've got blue drawers behind, and I love it because I can just slide pencils in the holes to tidy up, then open it. I don't need labels because it's only me in this space. And I have another client who she actually saw these and was like, I have to have those. They're so pretty. But for her, she was in a kitchen with two children and a husband. So we labeled them up because that makes sense for her family. There's no point guessing where things go. They need to know where they are and they need to know where
Yeah.
to put them back. So just applying a random routine won't work. So when I work with a client, I need to know their lifestyle. I need to know their wishes and their wants. I need to know what they want from their life. So then I can apply that and help them to create a space that works for the life that they want to lead.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And that really ties in nicely to what I talk about with my clients in that we're designing the woman you want to be and how you want to live as that woman. Yeah, I love that. Um, you mentioned neurodiversity at the beginning, and this is something that I've also been investigating myself. I identify as having ADHD. I haven't been formally tested. That I'm still about a year away from that, I think. But I have a lot of mums and clients who have neurodiversity either themselves or within their families. And that really, this question, I think, applies to neurodivergence, but also applies just to life because I think so much is put on social media about this routine and that routine and being organized and things like this. And we're all trying to follow this aesthetic or system that actually isn't real life. What do you think about that?
Yeah. So I think it worries me programs like Home Edit or Sort Your Life Out because what they do is they go in and these people are have hoarding tendencies. So that's a neurodiversity. Um, that it's usually an emotional reason that they're holding on to things. And then they take everything away and put them in plastic boxes. Um, and it just worries me because you can't just make it tidy because the reasons that they got in that place in the first place haven't been solved and
Yeah.
eventually it'll come back. It's a bit like eating or
Yeah.
exercising. You if you have the Manjaro jab or I'm not sure what it's called, and then you get to the size that you want to be, but then you're left and you're still the same person as before.
Yeah.
So you still need to do the inner work, which and it's the same for organizing. Unfortunately, as I said, it's a marathon, not a sprint. A sprint. It's you need to do the work in order to do it. And I premise that with if you want to. Like for
Yeah.
example, I did a workshop with some lovely parents, and I don't care whether your socks are paired or not. But one of the things I do with little children is just as a game, because it's actually shapes and colors as well, is get all the odd socks and match them together. And then you've done an activity together. It's actually really good for your fine motor skills. And then the socks are paired. And then this
Mm.
lady said, well, we don't do that. We just put them all in and we just wear odd socks. Brilliant. You found a system that works for you, and that's what matters. What I care about is that you found a system that makes your life easier, that you're
Yeah.
all on board with, and that you're not stressing about. And saying that a routine is, oh, I think that's something. I think I've no. I was we were talking about routines that works for everybody,
Yeah.
and whether you can change them.
Yeah.
A routine that's designed solely for you can work. Um, and people already have routines in their lives. You already do. Um, you've built up habits already, and I think you've touched upon it with what you were talking about with exercise. And if you want to be the person that does that, then you can adjust certain things in your life to become. I've got an example in my own life. I wanted to have a skincare routine, so I've put all my skincare in a row. I've taken all the lids off to make it easier because I'm not gonna take the lid off and press the button. Like that's just too much.
Yeah.
But I've organized my space so then it works for me, and then I've changed my habit. And do I do it every day? No, but do I do it more than I used to? Yes. So I think what's really important, especially with neurodiversity as well, is not thinking like a neurotypical person because they won't their system won't work for you, and that's okay. For example, I too actually identify as a having ADHD, and no, I'm not organized all the time, but I am mostly. I'm someone who's an all or nothing person, so I
Mhm.
do a whole organize and it's beautiful for a while, and then I do it all again, and that works for me, and that's why I'm so good at helping other people do that because I
Yeah.
can create that first step, but then support them through the next bits as well. Saying that, the reason I feel this way is because if I put something in a cupboard, I forget that it's there. Like it's literally out of my brain.
Yeah.
So I need something out to be able to know where it is, which frustrates my partner because literally chocolate eggs. He's like, "You've not eaten your Easter egg from the other day," and I'm like, "Forgot it was there,"
Yeah.
which is nice for me because then I literally found a chocolate orange the other day that I'd forgotten from Christmas. So I like those. It's like a little present.
Yeah.
But finding what works for you and rolling with that is the most important, and not getting
Yeah.
upset with yourself if something's not working that isn't supposed to work for you.
Yeah. I so in my coaching I call this keyless entry. So like most cars now, you can open that as long as you've got the key on your person, you can open the door. So you're designing your environment and what you've done with your skincare and taken the lids off, you've made keyless entry
Mm.
to skincare. And I do that, but I've gone one step further in that some I have to have duplicates of some of my skincare. So, I've got an eye makeup remover in my bathroom as well as a toner in my bathroom so that at the end of the day I can take my eye makeup off and clean my face. But just in case in the morning when I've got out of the shower, a little bit is down, a little bit of mascara has run down my face. I've also at my dressing table got eye makeup remover
Mm.
and toner because even though my bathroom is literally 5 paces away from my dressing table, I just won't bother.
Yeah.
Um,
So I advise parents to keep a toothbrush in the upstairs bathroom and in the kitchen for the children. So it just takes that level of having to go upstairs to
yeah,
brush their teeth before you run out the door to go to school, and it's just gone. That
yeah,
problem is not there anymore. And yeah, you have two toothbrushes, but that's okay.
yeah, that's okay. I love that. What does an organized woman actually think like, as opposed to what does she do?
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed this question. So I took a speed awareness course a few years ago. I was speeding, it's fine. But what I learned from it was to give myself time and space. So this is now what I have applied to my life is if I give myself time to do something and if I give myself space to do something, then I feel more organized. Whether I
Mm,
am or not, it doesn't matter. Like so long as I'm not stressed out by all the things that I have to do, then I feel on top of the world. So someone who is organized in what way I've premised, like, do you mean your shelves or do you mean your routines? And arguably, I would say you can't organize one without the other. Like, so my routine for my face can't be done unless I've organized my stuff.
yeah,
But also in terms of families and with clients, if an area of your day is stressing you out, then that's the bit that needs organizing. Or if a part of your home is stressing you out. So I guess my answer is if you're not feeling stressed about it, then you're organized.
you're fine. Yeah. It's so, in this kind of trying to slow my life down and do more in less time, that's required me to really give myself those pockets of time. So rather than, where possible, rather than be back to back in meetings, give myself time between meetings. Because so often I have a meeting with a client and someone says something so profound, and actually I could be sharing that as content to help other people, or just ruminating on it to think, wow, that's something I could do something with, but just not to feel so stressed all the time as well and be so rushing about. And sometimes I believe that really, really means making tough decisions. And like you said earlier, letting go of the things that don't serve you, um, but also trying not to people please in the
Yeah.
process. So I shut down part of my business 2 weeks ago, and that was really hard for me to do. That part of my business wasn't serving me, but if I'm really, really honest, it also wasn't serving the client that was involved in it, and so I had to really let go of my people pleaser, but I had to also realize that, God, here goes the dogs, hold on. Right, I've closed the door. They can bark at
Okay.
each other downstairs. Hopefully, my microphone's good enough that it blocks them out. Yeah, so we have to, we have to make tough decisions
Yeah.
sometimes, and that sometimes means that we have to not be a people
Yeah.
pleaser.
I think it's a bit like what you were saying before of multitasking. And when we do back-to-back meetings and we've then got to do our content and reply to those people and also networking is um, on top of that, you have to do all your follow-ups. And if you're doing back-to-back networking, how do you do follow-ups? And with that, I always think of it like all you can eat buffet. Like you can be everything to everybody, but you're not going to be very good at
No.
everything. So the food will not be as great if you're having like 50 different dishes. So maybe just serve 4 dishes and be really good at those. Yeah.
Yeah, love that. Um, why do women feel like they're failing at something as basic as, I wrote in my question to you, keeping their house together. What I actually wanted to say was keeping their life together, really.
Well, definitely society,
Yeah.
but also Instagram perfection isn't helping. And I also feel, and this is something that I've listened to in lots of podcasts as well, is we were never supposed to do all this. Like we're doing everything, and it's too hard to do everything, and that
Yeah.
and that is okay that we're not doing it amazingly because I always think of this for passwords as well. Your brain actually can't hold as many passwords as we're supposed to be keeping in our heads. Like our brain is not functioned to do that. So we're going to have to outsource where we keep our passwords, which is silly because they're supposed to be private. But that's the same with everything. And we've just talked about it, but in my answer I've written, if something doesn't serve you, get rid of it. And I also mean in your home. So if we're talking about organizing and we're talking about keeping your house together, which was the question, um, you want things to move, you want things to get untidy, you want things to get messy. And because if they don't, you're not using them. So they're taking up time and space in your home for no reason. Like you're dusting them, I don't know. If your house isn't supposed to be static, especially with children. So keep things moving, keep using things. Many times I'm doing kitchen organizations and I open a cupboard and there's dusty kitchen implements and they've got another one and another one and then they've bought another one and then they just all go in the cupboard. So I say use them or get rid of them.
Yeah.
Um, you don't need to keep them in your life. They're taking up space in your wonderful home. So in answer to your question, I think it's constant that we have to keep going with our home. It's, as I keep saying, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You can't just put everything there and hope that everything will work because life is moving on, the children are growing up, things are changing, and that's absolutely okay. But remember that you're just going to have to keep
Mm.
going with it, not
Yeah.
not keep it stuck.
Yeah. Something that changed my life about 2 Januaries ago. I listened to this Mel Robbins podcast, and I can't remember the name of the professional that was on it, but she said, start looking at the tasks in your house like a cycle rather than my favorite is I'm so behind on my washing. I've got so much washing to do, but washing is never done.
Never.
So stop looking at it as it's done or it's not, because the minute you're caught up, everything everyone is wearing is going to need to go in the
Yeah.
wash. So stop looking at it as a cycle. The same with you know, cooking and dishes. Like our dishwasher is broken at the moment,
Oh no.
which is such and our dishwasher for a house that only has 3 people in it, I cannot believe our dishwasher goes on every day. But part of that is having a teenager. So having a dishwasher broken means the washing up needs to be done. Now, I've got some rules around what I will and won't do during my working day in the house, because just because I work at home does not mean I should be spending all of my day doing household chores. Because if I worked in a corporate environment, I wouldn't be at home, I would be in an office. And along with that, which is going to lead into the next question, I film a lot of content, and one thing I've really been avoiding is filming in my kitchen because I've got a small kitchen. It's not aesthetically pleasing. It doesn't look like all of the Instagram influencers. And now, because the dishwasher's broken and because I'm not going to wash up until later, there's dishes in the sink, right? And and so the thing I think about now is looking at all of that stuff as a cycle rather than done or not done. I cook most of the meals here. My job is to cook the meals, and your job is to eat the meals. And it is someone's job, my husband's or my son, to wash up and clean the kitchen because I have done the meals.
Yes, I would agree with that. I think it's a teamwork. So with the children's that I nanny still, everything is teamwork. They help me prepare the vegetables while I'm cooking the main bit. Sometimes they help cook the main bit as well because they love it. So we really love making homemade chicken nuggets, and that's
Mm.
like a lovely activity to do together. I'm all about um weighing things and using maths and using science while you're cooking. Obviously they're a little bit younger. But I if it's about teamwork, then everything gets done. The children that I look after also get something called minutes. So they get them regardless of whether they're good or bad. And it's one-to-one time that we are together and they get to choose what we do. And the other children can come and play if they want, but they can also go off and do their own thing. It just means that they feel that they're seen, they feel that they're heard, they get quality time. With that, they know that they'll get more quality time if they help me pack the dishwasher, help me sweep up. But we've got an automatic Hoover now, so they just have to turn him on. Um, but I mean, I've been with them since they were 3, 5, and 7, and now they are 8, 10, and 12. So they know how I work then, and they know if we get it done together as a team, it's going to get done. But without that, I'd have a lot to do.
Mm.
And they
Yeah.
know that they benefit if they help me. So I think that's what I believe. And now they can do it when they're older, when they have their children of their own, they'll be able to do it easily because I've
Yeah.
given them the skills.
And I
Yeah.
feel like this is a whole other conversation as well. But I am, because this is where you and I started really talking
Yeah.
about the possibility of a podcast. But I feel quite strongly, and I'm going to put it out there, we're going to do a part 2 on this. I feel quite strongly that I am not raising an adult child. Do you know what I mean by that? I'm
Hmm.
not raising, he's 15, and I don't want him to leave this house unable, when whatever age
Yeah.
that is, unable to do a thing.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I don't see why I should be the only one that keeps this house running, and so I'm not.
Yeah.
Like the food shopping, we don't go to a supermarket, we do it online, but the food shopping is a family affair. What do you want for dinners next week? Like, give me some ideas. Fine, I'll put that. I've taught, she switched on Alexa. Sorry if anyone's just went on, but I've taught them, right, if there's something you want on the shopping, you tell her and she records the list so that when I'm doing the shopping, I know what you want. He washes up twice a week. He cleans the kitchen twice a week. If there's something missing, yesterday I was coming back from the beauticians and he was walking to the shop because he'd run out of his cereal. So rather than go, Mum, there's no
Yeah.
cereal, he walks to the shop. I'm not bringing up an adult child. I don't
Yeah.
want him leaving here, whether it's to go to university or whatever, unable to do anything. And
Yeah.
in order for that to happen, I need to not be the one that does everything. I'm
Yeah.
very passionate about this.
In the beginning of my more to organizing book, I talk about some people that I met at university. One of the boys just bought paper plates so he didn't have to wash up, which is not very good for the environment. And it's not hard to wash up.
No.
Another girl, instead of doing her laundry, just bought more clothes. Um, so, which only makes it worse because then she gets more and more laundry. And it was slightly different because we had to go out of the building to do our laundry and wait there and come back. So yes, that's a harder situation than when it's in your home, but still, it's something that you're
Yeah.
capable of being able to be capable of doing. And then there was other people who just couldn't cook, and I just thought that was such a disservice to them that they've ended up on their own and eating pot noodles every day.
Oh,
When it's not that hard to cook omelette or eggy
no,
bread or I don't know,
no,
noodles.
no. Yeah, that's definitely the part two. I'm gonna probably rant on that. Okay, keep it together, Chrissy. Go down your list of questions. So if someone's listening and they feel completely overwhelmed, where the hell should they start?
I mentioned earlier, but start with the hardest thing. And I know that it sounds weird because it's going to be hard, and that's okay. But that will give you the biggest benefit. So go around your day and think, which is the hardest routine? Is it the meal times? Is it the school run? Is it bath time? Is it sleeping? Obviously, that's for younger children. Um, but also think about your house. Which part of your home is causing you to be like, oh gosh, just shut that door. That's really stressful. Because once you go in there and you see and you face it, it's actually not as hard as your brain is making it out to be. But
Yeah.
also that bit that's the hardest, once you change that, that actually motivates you to change all the other easy bits in your home.
Yeah.
Um, so obviously I do help people do it. And if you feel like you need somewhat help, even just for neurodiverse people, but this works for neurotypical people too, having a buddy, just having someone there, they don't have to help you, they don't have to even talk to you. And sometimes they can be doing their own thing while you're doing that. So I just have a friend sat in the room, a non-judgmental friend, or invite them over to help you to do it together,
Yeah.
and make it fun. Have a glass of wine or I don't know, a smoothie, and then enjoy just laughing at the things that you've kept hold of. My favorite thing is to do a kitchen organization. And I always say, I'm going to find something that's gone off in your kitchen. And they always say, no, you won't. You like I've checked it. There's nothing that's out of date. And I still always find something.
Always.
So a big tip for you is medicines. There's always something in the medicines. And Christmas, usually it's Christmas gifts. So children have Christmas food gifts that they can make a gingerbread house, let's say. And that's just been shoved in a drawer and forgotten about. And then that's usually dated out. So they're the easy things to just part with. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. So what's the one system or change that gives the biggest return in terms of like that time, that stress and energy?
A system.
Well, yeah, we didn't know. We don't
Yeah.
want to use system. What can we use instead?
So it's either a habit or a routine. So
Yes.
if you want something to change, then you need to change that habit or routine. So you need to choose what you want to be or how you want to do something, and put that in place. I don't think boxes and labels work necessarily. They do if that's what you love. But it's actually about what you're doing and how you're doing it and the time you're spending. So actually, I do have a thing that I teach my clients, and it's the miscellaneous box. So if you have a space that you feel like is all messy and stuff everywhere, put it in the miscellaneous box, but then plan to go through that miscellaneous box at least once a week. So then you can put
Yeah.
those things back to where it needs to be, or bin or recycle or whatever. And that is something that's helping my clients because it's something that they can do, something really quick that all the family can just shove it in this box. But don't keep making miscellaneous boxes. If you've got more
No,
than one, it's not working.
no. I love that. A miscellaneous box. Okay, so what about the emotional side then? I know that a lot of women have this kind of shame, guilt, the feeling like they've not got it together. How can they get rid of that?
I would go even further and say so clients that have had hoarding tendencies, people who keep hold of things, there is an emotional attachment to the items, and that is okay. Um, it's just working through why you're emotionally attached to it, because at the end of the day, it's just a thing, and unfortunately, things don't last forever. Um, and there are more important things. Actually, going back to the thing you said, what are we doing wrong in terms of organizing,
Mm.
especially with our children? I think teaching them to attach meaning to items. And it's not that you're doing it wrong and everybody does it and you've got things that you want to keep and that have memories and things. However, when it's gifting time, maybe gift something that is consumable or gift something that is an activity. So something that you can enjoy together to create memories rather than hold memories. That would be something I'd say. And in terms
Mm.
of being embarrassed about your space, don't be. And you're talking about Instagram perfectionism and all of that. You can only see what they're showing you. You don't know what's behind the camera. So
Facts.
yeah. So don't worry about that. And this I've got a basket behind there and it's been there for like 3 weeks and I need to go through it. So don't worry, like it's okay. And yes, maybe I feel a bit annoyed by it. But I know at the right time I will organize it. What is really important is that your connection with your family, your connection with your brain, and how you are feeling is way more important than how your house looks.
Yeah.
So as long as you can move your routines along, as in as long as you are able to get the children to school on time, if that's what you want, or as long as you can get to work, if that's what you want, or if you want to go to the gym, or you want to eat more healthily, they're the more important things than what your house looks like. So we can organize your home to make that happen rather than make it look really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, and the last question, what would you say to the listener who feels like she's constantly behind?
um, that she's not constantly behind. And so in my gym, it says you're in the right place right now. Like you are right where you're meant to be. In That's what it says on the wall in my gym. And I think that's so true in that wherever you are in your organizing or exercising or eating, if you feel that you want to change, then you're in the right place because you're choosing to act upon that. Well,
Mm,
whatever it is, whether it's organizing or creating a system that helps you be more connected with your children or having time to spend with your partner, all of those things. Um, so yeah, don't I don't want people to worry or stress or be upset because you're where you're supposed to be and stop looking at other people, stop looking at
yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah, I agree. I love that. I love that. Kat, this has been fascinating, and I definitely think we need to talk again because we could go so many directions with this. Where can anyone listening or watching find you? Where are you most active?
So I'm most active on Instagram, and my handle is at more underscore two, as in the word to underscore organizing. I'm
I'll
really
put all the
annoyed that I put
links. I'll
yeah,
put all
I'm
the
really annoyed
links.
that I put underscores in there because it's really hard to say. More to organizing with underscores in. I do have a free workshop coming up on the 16th of April. So on my website at www.moretoorganizing.com, if you click on free workshop, you can sign up. It's 3 routines to help create a calmer, happier family home. So it is more uh, for your EYFS Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2 children.
Hmm.
However, I've been a nanny for children as young as 6 months to as old as 16 years old. So if you've got any questions for any of those, I can help. And your spouse or your husband or your
Yeah.
boyfriend or girlfriend or I mean, there's ways you can support yourself to support whoever you're living with.
Yeah, yeah. I'll make sure that all of those links are in the show notes so that you can all access these really quickly. Kat, thank you so much for coming on to
Thank
the
you for having me.
podcast. It's been such a great chat. We're recording this the Thursday before Good Friday. It's going to go out today once I've just edited out the dogs barking. But thank you so much. Have a great Easter, and everyone, I'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.